1-2. March 4th, Cohasset Township regular meeting.
Oh, you're running the meeting?
Just till they come.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Sal.
All right.
Before the slide split, or do you do it?
Let's call it to order and then we'll do work session and discuss everything.
Okay. Adequate notice of this meeting was given. The express times and the start is that satisfying requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Okay, we'll have a work session first.
Okay. I think the work session was primarily on the budget. So what Lorraine compiled for us is not final at all. It's just something we could start discussing. So that we were originally intending to have everybody come, other than the DPW and the police, who we already heard from, and those are the two big groups that have the big numbers. But we're going to have anybody who is interested in presenting come this week. We're postponing that till the next meeting. But I still thought it would be good to start talking about these items that are in the budget. Now, this is 12 pages and it's a lot to go through. I don't intend to go through it line by line, but I would like to point out some things, and Lorraine chime in or take over when I'm not clear. The one thing, the first item is the surplus, and that's the amount of surplus we use. Now, typically, the surplus used is a fairly large amount, but we're also pretty conservative, usually in the expenses, and we end up regenerating some surplus for the following year. So it's not as scary as it seems to be using $1.3 million of surplus. Last year, we had in our budget using $1.5 million of surplus. But we want to keep that number as low as we can get it. And, the surplus used to balance the budget, we want to keep it low as low as we can get it. Now, line items. I mean, we looked at the first page is largely revenues, and you could see that a big reduction from the 2013 budget, we had $500,000. We're anticipating a big reduction in red light money, basically, but we found that the license plate reader helped restore some of the money. So we actually ended up with court fines of $838,000 last year, and we're budgeting $825,000 this year, which could be considered somewhat conservative because the license plate reader wasn't in effect for the full year. It was only started in August. Other items pretty much match. We try to figure out what the last year's actuals were and estimate the 2014 budget based upon those in terms of grants and whatnot. The various expenses are itemized. We tried to reflect the budgets that people gave us. So far, there's no increase in salaries and wages for non-contractual employees. You may want to change that depending upon what we think. But I could tell you that from an overview, we've got a few challenges this year. One of the challenges is, again, we don't have any shared services on the police. Another challenge that we're going to have in future years, but we don't have yet, is the Phillipsburg Mall tax appeal. Phillipsburg Mall tax appeal, I think our auditor did a good job, and we got approved for that bond ordinance for the Phillipsburg Mall tax appeal. And we're able to spread that cost over 7 years. And that's roughly $1.2 million, 1.1313, something like that. But in 2014, that's not going to hit us yet. We don't have to start paying that until 2015. So we will need to start anticipating that. And hopefully we can anticipate some shared services on the revenue side too, so that we can have some revenues to offset the additional expenses. I don't want to get into each individual line item when the people aren't here to present this, but what I'd recommend is that you look through this just so that you understand how the budget's starting to work and how it's starting to come together, so that as we get more information, if you have any questions, we can raise questions in the next meeting, or even today if you have some questions that we can answer for you today. But I mean, I realize it's 12 pages of data, and I didn't anticipate you having to read through it all in this work session. But in general, on the process, if you have any questions, we can discuss them. I think last year there was at least one case where we had a budget number in here, and then it was changed mid-process, and then some people didn't realize it was changed, and there was some confusion around that, and I want to avoid that this year. So if you have any questions now, we can talk about them. Otherwise, we'll review it more in depth next meeting when more people are here to present their individual departments. I think in general, I don't think we're in bad shape, too bad a shape, better than I thought we would be, actually, without the Alpha Police. And I guess what helps us is, for 2014, is the deferral of starting to finance the Phillipsburg Mall tax appeal.
Frank, if we would have money left over for some miracle reason, can we apply that at the end of the year to the tax appeal? No. That wouldn't be wise.
I don't think there's any prepayment penalties, but I do think it would be a miracle. I mean, I think we're. What I'd rather do is, I think, is maintain the surplus level, and I think that's another issue too. I think we may want to address is coming up with a policy on surplus. Like, I think it's one of the best practices is to have a policy on surplus, and I think our policy has been on surplus is to hope to have one. But I think if we could have a target surplus, maybe of like 20% of last year's budget.
Total budget.
That would be good.
It's always nice to have a cushion if you have a problem.
Right. So that we want to avoid spikes and drops in, I wouldn't mind a drop in taxes, but we want to avoid spikes in taxes anyway.
Right.
Lorraine, you have anything to add?
For the appeal, the physical 1.3 million has been paid out. The 7 years that we were approved from the local finance board was to actually raise that money. So over the next 7 years, we'll fund 1/7 to pay ourselves back. So that the money has physically been paid on.
Right. We borrowed the money, they're paid out, and now we go to pay the debt back out over the next 7 years.
Right. We borrowed it from ourselves.
I mean, it's accounting. They let us spread the costs over 7 years, even though we pay it out all at once.
Yeah. We spent our savings, and now we'll have to raise it back to pay it back to ourselves.
It's almost like a secured loan.
I mean, and I did put, not all these figures are exactly, I met with Lorraine Friday for a few hours, and we brainstormed some things, and we got some input on some things, from like Chief Greenmeyer on the fines and that sort of thing. And not all these amounts are exactly as people requested. Some people requested pay increases, and we just kept it level for now. And some people, or some departments, I should say, I mean, for example, we changed some requests that may or may not, that we need to discuss, and I'll want to point out to you that, for example, rec, we budgeted 25 last year. The year before was 15. We put it back down to 15 for the rec.
16,000.
15, 1-5. Let me see if I know where that is.
Okay, there it is on page 8, donation to rec, 15
Right, and I guess when we hear from them, we may decide to put it back up or not, but I think we're pretty generous with that. Let me just think, what else did we change? Some of the capital expenditures, I think, I don't think, we listened from the DPW last meeting, and they've got a lot of things they want to buy. I mean, big things they want to buy, and I think we didn't. I think we're going to have to discuss, and I think we told Donnie that we'll figure how much we can afford, and then go back to him and help us, you and him, and help us set priorities.
Talked to Donnie about that already.
Well, there was a good thing in that. You know, we talked about that mower that he really wants, and we put in $35,000 in last year's budget.
Correct.
And that's still there. So we put another $35,000 now. We'll have
So we're up to
70,000.
70.
Now we'll,
So we theoretically could move on that if we wanted to into some kind of lease option, and then put the rest of the money out over the future. And then we got half the money there potentially already between last year and this year. So that might be something we could look into.
might be, yeah. It depends on how it affects our annual expense as well.
Right.
But yeah, I think we should have another conversation with you and Donnie on that, on the capital expenditures. So, I mean, these aren't finalized. These are what we thought we could afford if we put in there. But the allocation of them and maybe the amounts can be further discussed. And maybe we, speaking out of turn here a little bit, but maybe next Friday, Lorraine and Donnie and you, if you're available, can get together and.
Yeah, I'll check my schedule out, see why not. We're not too busy. But it's not,
Okay.
don't want to say yes for it anymore.
Yeah.
Frank, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do we have $4,000 to repair these spouts?
I think we need to. I think what Kevin Benbrook said was that we could start
Out of retainage,
out of yeah,
bond or whatever.
blonde. I think
What's that?
I think we have to. I think Kevin
I
said
guess
we
we
could start using some of that bond money to pay for things that the contractor is supposed to fix. We'll wait till he gets back, but I think we need to fix it regardless, and then it's
Right.
a matter of
That's why
that's a matter.
I wanted to make that decision tonight.
Right. Yeah, I think we have to. I think Kevin. I want to hear from Kevin about what the ramifications are of paying it ourselves, paying it through the bond, basically.
Okay, call up Wanda, then I'll call up the spouting contractor, and we got to fix it.
Yeah. I think. Do we even have is it on the agenda?
I was asked to take it off.
Oh, really?
Sal, is that what this-
Let's see what Kevin
From Dagan for the gutters?
Yeah, you have a letter there. I didn't do anything until I
I
talked
had it on.
to you gentlemen.
Okay, let's hear what Kevin Denbrook says. But we could approve the motion pending, we could make a pending, approval, pending assurance of payment from the bond or something.
Okay, I'll second it.
Well, wait till we get.
Wait, and wait, let's hear from Kevin too.
It's not here.
Well, I hope he's here by the end of the meeting. And if he's not, then we'll have to make a motion to approve it pending discussion with our attorney and who? Yeah, the SSP has been working with, our architect has been working with the contractor, so.
You want to make a motion?
Not till after Kevin gets here and they talk.
What?
Not till after Kevin gets here and they talk about everything to see if that's all right, what the procedure is.
Okay. Anything else, Frank?
No.
Okay, good. We will now go into our regular meeting. We will have the silent prayer and flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of minutes of February the 4th.
Can we take them together or not?
Yeah, you can. You want to take them together?
Okay, yeah. Whoa, it's only going to take a second. All right, we'll take them together. Approval of the minutes of February the 18th and the 4th. Okay, here he is, speaking of the devil. All right,
I move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, Becker,
okay, vote.
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Angelic.
Yes. Yeah, she's coming. No, she's not coming. Is she
Yeah,
coming?
Mary's coming, she's going to be a little late.
Well, she'll be here, Deputy Mayor, right?
Motion to pay bills
Can we come back to that?
signed by the director of each department and approved by the majority of the members and listed on the bill list.
We come back to that, Sal. I mean, I haven't gone over mine, and I'm sure Mary hasn't done hers either.
Yeah, Mary did first, she came out.
Did?
Mhm.
All right, well, pending doing mine, I'll go for it as long as I don't have any problems. So.
Why don't we just move it till later in the meeting?
All right, come back to it. That sounds all right.
Okay. Public comments pertaining to agenda items. Hearing none, attorney's report.
Sal, I really don't have much tonight. You asked me everything I need to discuss either on the agenda or in the executive session.
We have to go into executive session.
Possibly briefly, just
Okay.
discuss possible contract negotiation.
We have a question for you.
Okay.
We have to repair the rain spouts.
I saw the quote for that gutter,
Yeah,
and I saw our architect's response saying that usually you give the general contractor a chance to correct problems, but as I reported last time, there's been no change since, that's one thing I guess I can say about waiver attorney report. They seem to have dug in their heels on doing anything further until they get paid their old application for payment in full. So we seem to have reached a loggerhead. But I would suggest if you guys are content with that, that was Deegan Roofing, right?
Yes.
3,000 something?
Yeah, 800 and some dollars, say 4,000.
Right. So if you guys were content with that, you could take action conditionally this evening. We'll give our architect one chance with TCI to say, hey, these are laying in the middle of our handicap access ramps. Either you guys get out here and fix it by like next week, or we're going with this other quote. I think that's how you should handle that at this point.
By the end of the week. I don't want to wait till next week.
Okay, that's fine.
Because
Well, you're right.
this
It's
place
only
will be
Tuesday.
loaded with birds,
That's
squirrels.
terrible. Okay, that's the way I think we should handle that.
And the AOC is going to be coming out to do an inspection of the court and buildings, and I don't think they'll like seeing the handicap.
All right, so if you, yeah, I mean, I looked at I know Deegan, they've been around for a long time. I think.
Their estimate was $3,850.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now, is that for actually new gutters too? Do they have to replace those gutters, or can
It
they?
says
Yeah.
install oversized removal gutters and leaders,
Unbelievable.
hang connections, and boxes, miters,
All right.
meter openings.
Well, you guys can take
Cover
action on that
reinstalling
too.
Aztec board or fascia board we're missing.
We can make that award conditionally tonight to, unless TCI gets out here and addresses it by Friday's your deadline, that's fine.
Sal, do you think we need to have them redo all the gutters on the whole building, even the ones,
Oh, yeah.
even the ones that haven't come down? Because eventually they are, if these others were not installed properly, even the
Okay.
ones that are up yet are gonna come down.
Okay, this is what I did, Dave. That's a good question. I saved one board that came down, and I have it for evidence in
Right,
the township garage.
okay.
They use finishing nails.
Right, little tiny nails, right,
Finishing,
right,
okay, you saw that.
right,
Oh,
right.
and I was going to suggest, Sal, too, somebody should take a few pictures. In fact, I just noticed it on my way in. If you look even at the gutter themselves, the nails are only about this
Right,
long, and
right.
they're spaced very far apart. I mean,
Right.
It's very
That's right.
clear.
I
They're,
mean, my concern is all of them are gonna come down eventually, even
I
the
would
ones that
say
didn't.
that it all has to be replaced.
All right, well, for the quote Dagan gave, is it just for the ones that are down now, or was that for all new?
All new.
All new, okay,
Yeah.
okay. No problem.
can you make sure you get a couple pictures of those gutters?
We
before they
did,
fall away?
I
Did you?
came
Okay.
in here,
No, I mean the ones that are down outside where you can see the
the
nails.
police came up and took pictures,
Okay.
right, Wanda?
That's what you had told me. I didn't see them do it, but that's what you had
Okay.
said.
All right, well, I'll
You
check
said the
with
chief had taken pictures.
I'll check with the chief on that. If we start getting into issues with TCI.
Okay,
we'll be good.
township council reports. Frank, you're first.
Okay. I reported last time that the tax assessment cards looked like they were wrong. Indeed, they continue to look wrong. We've requested that Vital Communications issue new cards. I think the request was made Friday. And my understanding was that they were going to be sent out on or about Friday, but I haven't got my new card yet. So apparently they're not. They may have been sent Monday instead. So I'd expect residents will get new cards this week. Again, it's in many cases, in almost all cases, the amount of the tax assessment should be the same as 2013 amount. And that 2013 amount is on the card that you received. The new card will say revised. By the way, the tax appeal date was extended till May 1st rather than April 1st because of this. The budget is ongoing. I think the plan is to meet with all departments who want to have input into it next meeting, other than the police and the DPW who we've already heard from. And then the following meeting, I hope we can pass it, approve it. The Historic Commission, there's a Finesville Cemetery cleanup, May 4th at 1 p.m. They always appreciate help cleaning that up, and it's a nice it's a nice addition to our town. It's a nice part of our town, and if anybody feels so inclined, it's usually a nice day too. I did it last year, and it was rewarding. Met with the historic commission last Wednesday, and some of the things that they report on are that the lime kiln is run into a bit of a snag. The cases who own the lime kiln have yet to agree to let the town own the property. We hope they do. One thing that was good is that the town didn't pay for the removal of the trees. The Waukon PHHS, Historic and Heritage Society, paid for that, even though it was in the budget for us to pay for it, removal of those trees. There's a letter that the Historic Commission wants our input on with respect to the Straw Church, their nomination to be on the National Historic Registry of Historic Places. And I guess the PHHS drafted a letter of support, but I think the thought was if it came from us, it would carry more weight. So I guess I'd like a sense of the council about whether we could send this letter supporting the Straw Church nomination.
Should we let's have a vote on it?
We can have a vote on it, sure.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Becker,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Angelic.
Yes.
Thank you. Wells Fargo Bank, they asked me to look in, because I have an account there, they asked me to look at their walls, because the Wells Fargo Bank and the old Walmart Mall plaza there has historic pictures of Powhatan that the Historic Commission provided to them, and they actually gave them a $200 donation because of it. The Wells Fargo gave the Historic Commission a $200 donation because of it. But the unfortunate thing is it says Phillipsburg above all those nice pictures of Powhatan. So I'm going to ask them to change that if they can. Some good news, the Musconetcong Watershed Association, we had made a motion and agreed to send them a letter asking them to put up a plaque for the Finesville Dam. They agreed to do that, and they will do it.
Frank, before you go any further, we're going to put the sign on the Holland Township side, like we got from this letter here.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't read. I have to.
Yeah, they sent an email, I think, with a sketch.
Yeah.
They're talking about better visibility. I think they're talking about Holland Township because that's the view that the sign
Right.
depicts. And there's also an easement over there, I think, a county easement they could maybe stick it on. So they did ask if there was any easement on our
I
side.
don't think we do.
I don't think
I'm
there
not
is.
sure.
So, yeah, I did see that email.
Is it worth getting an easement? Is it hard to get an easement if we want it on our side? Is it a hassle?
I don't think we should make waves.
Yeah, I mean, we have a road right there where the dam, where the bridge goes over. Maybe we could, right? We could possibly stick it somewhere along in there.
They didn't really want it along the bridge that's going to make people
No,
stop.
stop and
That's
look.
the idea.
Right.
They don't want to encourage more bridge.
I mean, you see those historical road markers all the time, though, in But, yeah, I mean, other than that, Frank, we don't have any right-of-way directly along the river where the dam was.
Suppose
You could ask, I
I
mean,
take this memo to the next historic commission and see what they
Yeah.
think and get their input.
yeah, maybe if whoever owns that property, we can find out if you want to ask somebody, hey, would you have an objection to a sign? We could certainly be no big deal to get a little license or an easement just for the sign,
Okay.
if they'll give it to us.
The last thing was, they're continuing with their application to make Regalsville Historic District, and Historic District nationally or so designated. There was some concern expressed about Hoots, the impact it'll have on our application, that it's not that great looking. And maybe, Joe, you can, maybe, is there anything, do you know, Sal, is Hoots in compliance with all our zoning rules? Maybe Joe could look at that and see that it is.
For what?
For our town zoning, to make sure that, the idea is that the Historic Commission is concerned that Hoots, the way it looks, will negatively impact our application for Regalsville being considered an historic district. So if there's any way we can improve the way Hoots looks, it would help our application.
Okay, I'm working on some homes
Right.
in Binesville right now. And we have Joe here. And Joe wants more time, right? He wants more time. I took a ride down there. There is room for improvement down there. And I'm working on it.
No, I know you're working on various houses or something. Is Hoots on that list of things you're working? Hoots, the bar down there, is that among the things? Is that, are they in compliance? Is my question.
Oh, boy. I
Well-
didn't look at Hoots Bar yet, but I'll tell you something, makes you sick.
The Board of Health has jurisdiction over, their anything they do inside, and they do whatever they need to do with ABC to get their liquor license renewed. The outside is not pretty, but we don't have any ability really to impact what the outside looks like unless there's a zoning officer or a police department comes up with something that deviates from our maintenance ordinance. We do have a property maintenance ordinance. I've ridden my bike down there past Hoots. It's been that way for as long as I can remember, to be honest with you. But just glancing at it, again, it's not pretty, but I can't see any particular zoning violation that comes to my mind, Frank.
Okay.
Doesn't that the zoning officer can certainly look at that, or I should say our zoning officer slash property
think
maintenance. Are
he
you the
put
property
that-
maintenance officer?
Yeah,
Or Joe is, okay.
I think he put a septic system in there.
Well,
That's
that
not
would be
legal.
Board of Health. I mean, if we have some information to that effect, we can report that to Board of Health, but I don't think that's the eyesore issue that Councilman Becker's talking about. And just off the top of my head, there's not a lot you can do about that.
Okay.
May I know,
Yep.
the newest update? Our police department went and seized Hoots liquor license.
Oh, they did?
All right.
As of
Is
when?
it a criminal issue or something?
I think they went Friday or Saturday. The Department of Taxation came to my office on Friday, and they had made special arrangements with their manager to allow them to schedule payment of taxes, because that's why we couldn't renew their license
Okay.
timely last
Somebody
year,
didn't
because they didn't
comply.
get the tax clearance. She hasn't complied with that, so they don't want to go in there, so they came here, and I called Detective Sergeant Rob, and he went out and seized the license, so they're shut down. So the state said, I don't think they're going to be working with her, that license may go up for auction at the state level.
Am I allowed to say the place is open?
As I said, it's not. Yeah, as I said, I think ultimately that's our license, so, I mean, if the license is seized, I think we would get it back at the auction. wouldn't we?
They said that it would have to stay in Pocahontas,
Right.
but they put it up for auction.
Because they seized it for the okay.
Yeah, for taxes, it would stay in Pocahontas Township, but,
Well, that would actually be useful. That would be good.
Yeah, that
Okay.
would be good.
yeah.
Okay, good. And that's all I have.
Okay, Frank?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Dave?
I don't have anything for the Environmental Commission. I believe we've had a council meeting since our last Environmental Commission meeting, so there's nothing really new to report there. I can give you the DPW report here. A salt and plow township roadways, parking lot, sidewalks during the ice and snowstorms on the 26th of February. They power washed all the equipment after they used for the salt and plowing after each storm. They changed snow plow blades on the snow plows. They repaired the snow tire chains. They took delivery of salt. They did some cold patching throughout the township. They changed the cutting blade on the backhoe bucket, and they serviced truck number 18 and the 440H rubber tire loader. There's one other thing I'd like to address. It was in my mailbox. It was a complaint regarding what I assume to be one of our subcontractor snowplow people. And I read over it. It's something worth looking into. The only concern I have, I do not, it's dated the 19th of February, so I'm assuming it was either that day or the day before. The only thing I'd like to say, if this was during the snow emergencies, from what I gather, the plow trucks have the right of way, and cars and such are not supposed to be out on the roads during a snow emergency. Am I right there, Kevin?
That is true.
I had one complaint that was called in during the storm, and that's more or less what I had told the person that called, that it was a snow emergency, and nobody was supposed to be out on the roads. They were complaining they hadn't been plowed out yet and couldn't get out, and that was my reply to the resident. And again, I don't know when this actually took place, and again, if it was during the snow emergency, our plow trucks or our subcontractors have the right of way, and anybody that's out there, I think, technically could be ticketed by the police department if they're violating that.
I believe so. I think Donnie is required, as soon as the state declares a state of emergency, he's required as a local OEM to, he's not here, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And you'd be correct.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So,
Yeah, he called into the state.
yeah. As soon as that happens, then everything is supposed to come off the roads.
Right. And that would be my only comment towards the letter. We can address, our subcontractor and see, if he can operate in a better manner. But again, if it was during that snow emergency, he's going to have the right of way there. And technically, whoever was out there, regards to this letter, probably shouldn't have been if that was the case.
Something I don't know, Scott, I mean, there's no can call or anything the only thing I'm not really clear, even in my own township where I live, just over in Franklin, we had the same snow emergency. I wasn't really aware of it as a resident. There's no real can call or anything that goes out that really alerts you to a snow emergency, is there? I mean, you just got to kind of see it on Channel 69
I was
or
going to
something.
say Channel 69 most of the
Yeah,
time.
that's about all you can
but
get.
If you don't,
Yeah.
right, you're
I mean,
right.
we can throw it on the website, but it'd be nice if 911 could somehow do can calls when those come out, just to let people know to get
Right.
the
Right.
cars off the street. Because in fairness to people, the road department needs access, but a lot of people just leave the car where it is and hope for the best, and don't even realize that they're technically required to move the darn thing, and then sometimes they can't move it anyway. So,
Right. Like I
but
said, that was the only
yeah.
thing that was in my box that I thought was worth addressing. And I said, I'm glad to take any calls from any residents or emails in regards to anything to do with the road department or maintenance of the roads or anything. My cell phone and my email is up on the website. I said, I'll be happy to take any complaints as they come in.
I thought your men did a good job.
I mean, people don't realize that when you get that much snow, you're not going to get plowed out in a couple hours. It's just not going to happen. And this has been a winter for, I don't want to say winter for the books, but, it's been a winter of the decades in my eyes as far as, I can remember one like this back in the mid-90s, but that was the last time of one of this magnitude. I said sometimes people just need to have patience, which a lot of people don't. As soon as the snow stops, they expect to be able to go out and go, and, it's not always going to happen.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Sal.
Okay, did you read the letter other municipalities have passed on electronic billboards? I think it's time, that in case they do want to come into the township, that we do not let them come in because they're bright and a lot of complaints are received by the residents.
Don't we already have an ordinance to do with the amount of lighting that can be emitted from a billboard?
Oh, I don't know.
Years ago, I
think we
remember
did.
working on something on the land use board
Yeah.
that had that effect
What ab-
because we talked about these specific billboards at that time when we didn't. If Wayne was here, I could ask Wayne because I remember he had a lot of comments on it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dave. That ordinance was precipitated by an application we thought was coming in. And
Right.
we
Right.
pretty well in hand started.
Yeah, I think we have something on the books, Sal,
check
but
it.
it would
Would
be
you
worth
check
looking
it?
into.
I'll check it.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Now, did you guys read the environmental study of this building? I think Rinker and we're going to have to do something about that, the air quality in this building.
I did see that, I didn't read through it in detail. I was with you and Mary, I guess, when we met with them and walked through the building with them. It's RK you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is that they were recommending an infrared test to see leakage from the doors and the roof and stuff on so that we're not wasting money on energy. And the only thing I could think of to say there is that we probably ought to insulate anyway. We know we need insulation because it's cold in that part of the building. We ought to insulate anyway and then do the RK or whoever does it, the infrared study. Because
I think we have Jay, our architect here, Frank, and I know that report's gone to him, and we and I have discussed it. And I think we're actually getting some prices on that infrared.
Are you getting prices on that, JR?
I've received one proposal at this point for an infrared scan and air infiltration testing, which was one of the recommendations of our.
And I think you were saying, Jay, as I recall, that's actually something we might want to do pre-installation because it's going to give us an idea of moisture, possible moisture access, and it'll also give us a very good indication of exactly where the heat loss is going, so we don't just insulate everywhere. That's what my understanding was, Jay.
Right, there's some real obvious places. I mean, if you
Right.
take a look at the vault gutters and the fascia and the gap in the roof, that's obvious. But within the attic spaces themselves, I think the infrared scan will help make sure that the investment we put in additional insulation is well spent and targeted.
is it a before and after deal or is it just before?
If we separate the indoor air quality issue, which RK Environmental was initially targeting, they're in fact making a recommendation that right now there's uncontrolled moisture access into the building, and that is an energy drain. And there is a need for some deep cleaning in some locations. And in fact, there is some mold colonies that were removed by the contractor, but done in a manner that looks like it's spread some of the mold. Now, the good news is that the overall analysis that they did with their testing showed that molds are common molds. They're common both inside and outside, so it's not as if you're growing something exotic here. And at the same time, the relative action levels for what they discovered were relatively low. So it's It's not as if you're in a green environment that's, really, it would take somebody who's extraordinarily compromised to feel a reaction to what's going on. So let that be the environmental issue. And their suggestion is that they should come back and redo that testing during the moist time of the season, when in fact you have air conditioning running, high humidity outside, and the chance of having higher indoor humidity levels is much greater than it is right now. Secondary recommendation of RK environmental was the recommendation for this and the air filtration testing. And they really came at that because of the high moisture level that they were detecting. And for this season, and the fact that the mold species that they encountered were in fact moisture indicators.
I think, Jay, are you here for executive session? So I think we should discuss that in executive, including the estimates we got, and get some Jay's candid advice in executive, and then maybe come out and possibly take some action if you guys want to. I don't think it was expensive, that one study wrote, but you might want to go that route. So we'll talk about this when the executive and come out.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm working on a lot of homes and buildings that have to be fixed up. But Joe, would you give us a rundown on these homes? Or you're not prepared right now?
I tell you what, Sal, next Tuesday, 3 o'clock, you and I, we're going to take a ride around town. You use my car.
I have to see, 3 o'clock, I might be jammed up. I don't know, I have to see.
You pick an afternoon, me and you, we're going to go around town and we're going to write up a report. I have one for you. I'll have one for you. Okay.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Okay, resolutions.
No, there isn't.
Okay,
We don't have a lot.
to refund escrow balances to the United Presbyterian Church. This was about a sign. To refund escrow balances, Canary Bread. Refund overpayment of taxes, Block 48, Lot 7.
They can be taken together.
Anybody want to, we'll take all three together?
Take all three, Sal.
Okay, Dave?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Hey, Becker,
yes.
Slack,
Yes.
Angelic.
Yes. Okay, ordinance, first reading. An ordinance to amend Chapter 7 of the Code of the Township of Powhatan entitled Bond Ordinance Referendum.
Sal, if you want me to elaborate on this a little bit.
Go ahead.
And I think we'll probably have a brief executive session just to discuss some possible contract issues. But basically, I guess it was a year or so ago, probably, the township, this council enacted an ordinance that I think the trigger is $400,000. So any debt that the township would incur above threshold of $400,000 would require going out for a referendum to the taxpayers to make sure they approve of whatever you're going to spend that money for. There were a few exceptions that you have to have for litigation, such as the mall tax appeals. Those can't be subject to referendum. There are 2 or 3 statutory exceptions basically to that rule. One that is not an exception is any bond ordinance for open space acquisitions or recreational property acquisitions, any type of historic preservation acquisition. And I think that was probably intentional at the time we did it. Recently, Again, some of this we're going to discuss in executive session because it's a potential contract issue right now, but the township has become aware of the potential, at least, for the possibility to acquire some substantial tracts. The purchase price is not clear at this point in time, but it would certainly be something in excess of $400,000. And the idea is, particularly in some of these properties that are reacquired through foreclosures and things, that the opportunity may not be sitting there long enough for us to get out to referendum. It may be, it may not be. So this ordinance, which Mayor Kern, I think, asked me to draft, at least for you guys to take a look at, possibly move on first reading, would basically carve out of the referendum ordinance you have put on the books bond ordinances for acquisitions for open space, farmland preservation, historic preservation, etc. That's what this is about. Whether so. And at the same time, in executive, I'll fill you in a little bit on the whole referendum process. I know I've talked to Councilman Becker about this as well. The other option is just to not do the ordinance and go out to referendum if you get above $400,000 for an open space purchase. Or I guess the middle ground would be to set some type of differing threshold for open space acquisitions. But that's what this ordinance is about. It would eliminate the requirement to go out to referendum for open space purchase.
It's just the letter that,
Yeah, that's the letter Jim circulated.
okay.
So that's where it is. It's really a.
Well, we're going to talk about an executive session. Why?
You don't want to vote on it now?
Before executive session.
You can table it. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit more about this particular track that may be coming up. But I think one thing. I think this ordinance would apply generically to any open space acquisition. So this ordinance would extend beyond this particular parcel, which might be available for acquisition. So, it is a significant amendment to the ordinance. I think that's fair to say. But you can table it. You can take action, move on first
You want to
reading,
take action on it
or
now,
we can go to
Greg?
executive.
Did
and
you
talk
read
about
the letter from the mayor?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, we can move it down the agenda list and talk, have a little discussion, executive, Frank, if you're more comfortable, and then before you decide how you want to vote on moving this or not. That's not a problem. That's okay with everybody.
How do you feel about it, Dave?
I could vote on it right now, so
I
that's
could
okay.
too. I'll make a motion that we pass this ordinance at the first reading.
I'll second it.
Well,
Discussion?
Yep.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Second reading, there's a discussion.
Well, no, you can have discussion before the vote. That's public
Oh.
comment. You guys can discuss as a council if you'd like. That's fine.
Well, I've got concerns. I recommended that ordinance, and I thought it was a good idea when Mayor Kern proposed it. And
You're saying the original ordinance.
the original ordinance of $400,000 limit. And I think we're kind of just nibbling away at this. And I've got concerns that we and we're doing this for open space, which could apply
Well,
in the future for more open space. And 86% of our property is in farmland preservation. This is exactly the kind of decision that we decided to entrust our citizens with. And I want to continue to trust our citizens with this type of decision.
One thing, and I think it's a fair discussion for public and in the context of the ordinance, just so you guys are aware, this ordinance, when we adopted the ordinance, we didn't put any specific procedures for how you do the actual referendum. And it's interesting because it's a rather unique ordinance. I think we might be the only municipality in the state that I'm aware of that might have this on the books. But we are a Faulkner Act township, so we can have binding referendum. We have that authority anyway as a Faulkner Act municipality. But the mechanism for going out to referendum is a little bit open to how we would do that. Just want you guys to be aware. I'm working with Wanda, and we both reached out to the county clerk. The question in my mind legally is how mechanically do we conduct a binding referendum? Does it have to be through the county clerk? Does it have, Wanda and I were having this discussion today, are we going to use the voting machines and all that formality? You may have to. I'm not sure. I have an email, Pat Colbar, county clerk. The county clerk runs all elections. So I guess the question of the day, and she's going to call me tomorrow, is we're all trying to get our hands around is, do you have to conduct the binding referendum under our ordinance, and for anything, not just for property acquisition. Any time you get above that $400,000 threshold, how do you have to conduct that referendum? The only reason I'm trying to get that information for you guys as a council is twofold. One is a question of cost. If we have to comply with the formalities of an election, so to speak, the bond would be a question with a yes or no box. But if you have to treat that as basically an election on that question, the estimated cost from the clerk is somewhere around like $13,000. So there isn't an expense there. Now, that may well be worth it to poll the public on an important issue, but we're just trying to figure out whether that expense is going to have to be incurred every time we do a referendum. If it will, if we have to treat it as a quote election. The other question is timing. Trying to find out from a timing standpoint, if you again have to treat it basically referendum question as a quote little mini election, there are 60-day notices and things of that nature that we would have to kind of methodically work through. I just point that out to you guys again. This is purely a policy decision for the council, but I'm just still trying to collect the information for you guys, just so you know what the ordinance we have on the books, actually how we would implement it for a referendum question in terms of the timing, how long it will take us to get out to referendum, and what the cost would be of actually going forward with the question itself. So trying to get that information for you guys. So I just wanted to throw that out to you.
We could always preserve it and then resell it. This here land too.
Well,
and then
the particular parcel we're talking about, we're
right.
talking executive, there's a variety of possibilities, but Frank is correct too, that the way the ordinance amendment is structured, it would be a global amendment, and I really don't know how to otherwise do that. Either open space is in or out, it seems to me. So I think you're right. And I said it is a major amendment. The only thing else I can tell you too is it's an introduction on first reading. We can always either table it
right.
or vote it down. If in the next couple of weeks before the next meeting I can develop some additional information. But it's up to you guys. That's all I'm saying. I am trying to get additional information for you, though. That's all I'm saying, to try to give you guys.
I want to go into executive session then first before we take a vote. The vote.
Well, we have a motion and a second, so we're in discussion. So I think we should finish that up. But I didn't mean to interrupt the Frank. I just was trying to give you some.
You said yes, right?
I mean,
You just seconded the motion.
I just seconded the motion.
Are we
for
ready
now.
for roll call?
I seconded the motion.
You made it.
You made it, I seconded it. So.
Oh, okay.
And I'll say Becker,
No.
Clark,
Yes.
and Vangelli.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, number 12. Second reading, there is, we don't have anything, so we'll go to number 13. to authorize the mayor to attend a meeting with Alpha to discuss forming a pool committee to determine the feasibility of reopening the pool. No monetary contributions from the township required. That's right close to my heart. It's okay with me as long as we don't have to come up with any money, because I think it's a good thing to pull. Dave?
Yeah, I agree, as long as it's not coming out of the township's pocket. If they can
Right.
figure a way to fund it, maintain it, and keep it up and running, I think it's a good thing.
I do too. Okay, roll call vote.
You want to take all the motions together?
Well, I would,
Oh,
I would
let's,
pull that second one because we're going to talk about that in executive, so
We'll table the second one.
I didn't know that would even be on there in that format, so we should table the second one. I would
Kevin,
pull,
I don't know if you know it, but there was an article released today.
oh, really? No, I don't know.
Goes into some detail.
Oh, really?
about this.
Okay.
About the
So-
pool thing?
No, about the second motion.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? No, I'm not aware of that. Okay. Well, needless to say, I think that's something, though, at least before you guys take action on this, we ought to probably
Discuss it.
discuss an executive, I think.
Oh, then why don't we take all the motions?
Well, unless you
together
want to
with
talk
the
about in public since the
exception
cat's out of the bag. It's up to you
Well-
guys.
Why don't we talk about executive and then,
All right.
and then maybe in public as well?
Other than that, you can take all the rest of them together.
This one,
Yeah,
I wish we voted on this one first and then on second.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Kevin, just to clarify that when we're approving the Deegan Brothers, gutter thing, conditioned upon what?
Well, Jay, what we're going to, and again, since we have our architect here, what I was going to do, I mean, we have an AOC inspection of the building coming up. We just can't have these gutters sitting here like this. So what I was going to suggest, and I just want to run this by you as our architect, we got a pretty good quote from Deegan Brothers, which would replace all the gutters on the whole building.
Yeah, great quote.
Great quote. I was going to have the council take action on that, subject to having you as our architect get that over to them and say, you know, we're going forward with this contractor to mediate our damages unless you get out here by, you know, I'd like to get out here by Friday. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous. Is that fair enough?
It's an emergent condition.
Okay.
We're going to have to add that motion, Wanda?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so we're gonna add a motion to
You,
Deegan Brothers proposal in the amount of $3,850 to replace the gutters of the municipal building.
subject to notifying the general contractor TCI and giving it the chance to mediate the condition no later than Friday.
Or at least they're initiating the work.
Initiating repairs by Friday. Okay.
okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
That's
second
everything.
it.
Yep, that's everything, but
Roll call.
Okay, we were taking them all or just?
all but number 2. Yeah, all but
All but number 2.
Let me, if we're doing that, I do have a question. Gary Gray Trucking, how much is that, do you know?
It runs about 10,000 maybe, a
So
little less.
per ton basis.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we always just go with them, or do we get other prices? Or
The other
always best,
company
or-
that I had checked with doesn't come out here. Waste Management, they don't do it.
Okay.
They're the only ones I know of.
Okay. Then I'm fine with taking them off,
Who's making the motion?
except for the second one. I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Becker,
Yes.
Slack,
Yes.
and Angelic.
Yes. Okay. Excuse me. Public comments. Mr. Hernandez.
My name is Enrique Hernandez. I'm at 301 River Road. As you know, the Oprah law exists so the public can access records easily. But the Oprah law is not a blanket access to any document that anybody wants. There are some specific limits, and among them are building plans. And in fact, the state of New Jersey, the Department of Community Affairs, visited this in 2013 and spelled out why building plans are protected from disclosure of Oprah. Now, I've been trying to build a barn and a farm stand on my property for a while now, and I've been subject to a lot of Oprahs, which is fine. People are entitled to file all the Oprahs they want. All of the Oprahs are from Laura Altman or Michael Newman, except one, which is also fine. But what is not fine is that Laura Altman has requested architectural plans on the buildings that I am constructing. And the Oprah request that I obtained appears to fulfill that request. And these requests, in using different words, go through different time periods where plans are requested, and the only person that has denied them the plans is the building inspector, who said that those plans were exempt from the Oprah request. So I'm here because I feel that my rights as a resident have been violated. I have a certain right to privacy. The law is on my side. These plans are not for public consumption, and for very clear reasons. You know, why bother paying for an architect when I can just Oprah somebody's plans and use that building to my liking? Save myself several $1,000s in fees. Or I may have security measures that I don't want to make public. And so the law recognizes that need and creates that exemption. I cannot tell 100% for sure that in fact architectural plans were provided, but there's nothing on the documents that I have to suggest that they were denied. In fact, it says that the Oprah was fulfilled. So I'm here to request from council several things. One, that some sort of memo be circulated to all the members of the administration, reminding them that there are exemptions to the Oprah. Town engineer, land use engineer, building inspector, zoning officer, and whoever else would have access to these plans, that part of privacy needs to be respected. And the other thing I want to request is that perhaps the town attorney can contact Laura Altman and obtain an answer as to whether in fact she does have architectural plans, whether they were released to her. And if they were, they need to be returned to their proper owner. They were obtained illegally and they need to be returned. Thank you.
That's something you can look into.
This
Kevin,
is the
or-
first time I heard of it.
Me too.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know that,
Documentation here.
I'm not sure that I've reviewed that one
No, I
either.
don't.
Let me just say generally, the process is usually, if it's a routine request, Wanda just deals with it. Wanda, as our township clerk, is the sole designated responder for Oprah.
Right.
I think I've given Wanda a manual, but she and I generally coordinate pretty closely.
If there's a request.
If there's a request that in any way looks suspicious now, or that looks like it, not suspicious, but looks like it may be exempt. And we have denied many over the years, as Wanda will tell you, where they seek things that are clearly covered by an Oprah exception. I'm not sure about this particular request. We'll certainly double check it. We would certainly know what we provided. I don't know whether that's a recent decision you're talking about from DCA or not. My recollection is that architectural plans and building plans were not, at least initially, a specific statutory exception. I believe there were some Government Records Council decisions that talked about architectural plans, and they did raise issues such as were raised about security issues and things of that nature. I don't know that it's a blanket exception, to be perfectly honest with you, but we'll find out. And I always review those things with Wanda, and if for some reason we responded to an Oprah request and gave out a document that's not technically covered by Oprah, I will let you guys know, and we'll take steps accordingly to make sure it doesn't happen
Should we
again.
go to the planning or to the land use board?
I mean, that's another example, just by way of an example. I mean, site plans, as Wendy will tell you, I mean, you can have pages of architecturals and renderings and all kinds of detailed information that actually are definitely producible by Oprah. So as I said, I will review it with Wanda, but we try the best we can. We don't just blanketly give out documents in response to every Oprah, but unfortunately, Wanda does have a 7-day response time. So we do the best we can to make sure that we're fully responsive both to the requester and to preserving it. But I will look into it, Wanda and I will let you guys know if for any reason we gave out a document we shouldn't have. Okay?
Okay, you're gonna get
Yes,
that
yeah.
information.
Yep.
Okay.
If I made a mistake or something, I will let you guys know.
Wendy?
Hi, Wendy Toledo. I have a question. I'm a little concerned, and I just wanted to let council know before when he's going in executive session for the RK report. A lot of the employees have been a little bit concerned because also when we had trouble with the air conditioning, the gentleman closed off the air vents up on the roof. We questioned that because he said that's how we were getting air circulated into the building. So when he did that, we questioned it, and he said it was either be heated or get the air circulating. So we've had stale air in here since November. 2 employees have been put on inhalers for respiratory issues. So it is a concern to the employees.
We're looking at that, Wendy, and again, it's one of the things that Jay's brought to our attention, and balancing the whole system is one thing.
Vents were the biggest concerns. When he said he was closing them off, we kind of questioned that because,
We are too.
yeah,
We
so I just wanted, since you're going to go in with the professionals in
Right.
there, I just wanted that.
Okay, thank you. Hey, I forgot one thing. Remember when we passed all these motions? Is that number correct? A quarter, we have to pay $3,100.
No, it comes quarterly, that's the annual amount.
That's a what?
That's
Annual amount.
Oh, okay.
They'll do the inspection for them.
Oh, all right.
Hi, Liz Elvin. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I just had a question regarding the tax assessor and the big bill that was made. This is the second time, to my knowledge, that this is taking place. I'm just wondering, is there a possibility at some point, if you guys can't explain it, that maybe you can come in and explain what took place? Because this is actually, I'm not sure what the cost is, ramification from this mistake. But I know we're sending out all the cards again and everything to the cost to the community. And I'm just wondering if you could maybe, Frank, you might be able to get better insight of what happened.
I can't talk about performance issues without a Rice notice. I will say that the tax assessor is here. Is it past 7:30? He may not be here now. His hours are tonight. But I will request that he come and give an explanation. From what I understand, what I was told it was a computer glitch. But
Isn't it?
I'll ask him to come.
Whose computer, Frank, just out of curiosity, ours or Vital's? Nobody knows?
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that.
I don't know.
It's unclear to me.
But we'll probably,
And I know a little bit. I'm pretty. I think I've been in business a long time, so to say that it's unclear to me doesn't mean that it should be.
Right.
Okay, Les?
Les Nichols, 44 Mellish Woods Road. I have 2 items. One, I'd like to request the council, I'd like to bring it to our attention that there's an upcoming sale in Warren County Soil Conservation District for a native hardwood from evergreen trees and some native shrubs and wildflower mixes.
I'll take that.
Circulate council and see any warrants mentioning on the township website. I appreciate it.
Think so. Thank you very much.
I was going to say, anybody who's in, who does woodland assessment received one of those in their papers.
Do you need this back, Les, or not?
No, it's circulate that to the council, keep it for the website. The website is Warren County SCD. If anybody wants to look. The other issue with respect to the gutters and the fascia, I don't think there's any question. It was bid for new material. It should be replaced with a new material, not repaired. And when it is, the new soffit is installed, I think our building code official should be there to inspect it, how it's installed, with the type and number of fasteners, because the gutter wasn't the problem. The attachment to the fascia board was the problem.
Right.
The gutter's put on properly. And the other thing is, I would ask that our code official check for the capacity of it with regard to the roof side. I don't know that it was capable of handling this amount of runoff anyway. So I think it should be bid new material, the way it was supposed to
It
be.
is new material.
No, the replacement should be
Replace.
new, not taken off.
That, you can't replace that.
And also, let it reflect our code official be present and we can inspect what's going on,
Thank you.
not a year later.
Okay, thank you. Any more public comment? Here he is, my man.
Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. My name is Joe Rossi. I am not a resident. I am the zoning officer. I just like to bring this up all the time, and if anyone knows anybody that can write any grants out to get money to clean up properties that are abandoned, that'd be fantastic. We're not going to get it. These properties are abandoned. They've been there for years. We're not going to get our money back. Every township has the exact same problem. Now, all the state can say is no. That's all they can say. So if you know everybody, it's a good grant writer. You have a form, you write it out, send it to the state. They say no, just keep sending it back to them. Maybe eventually you might get some money. We get something clean this all up. All right?
Do you know where to send it to?
Governor Christie.
No, I mean, you said send to the state. Is it a specific department or?
I have to look into that because I know Atlantic City got grant money to clean up their town because they were a tourist town. So whoever that is, I'll take a look, research that, and see what I can come up with.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for having me here. I got some information. Me and Sal's going to take a field trip. You missed that.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. We might stop at Burger King or something. Once or twice.
Thank you.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, before we go into
I see
Exactly.
another hand.
oh, there's more?
Dominic Congested, Mountain Road, Clackamas Township. First of all, I'd like to thank the DPW department for the terrific day job in this terrible weather. My wife being a lifelong resident and my being here over 30 years can remember road conditions being terrible and people having to deal with that a lot more than what they've been used to today. And unfortunately, I think some people get a little used to having things done instantaneously, and it's not always that easy, but they did a terrific job. My other comment is really just about the ordinance amending the bond ordinance referendum, and I'd like to see some more discussion on that issue. And you can go along and come up with all kinds of issues that can just constantly water that down to where it almost doesn't exist anymore. And I think that was a terrific ordinance that we had put in place to protect the wishes of the residents, and I think we need to really take more consideration on that before we make any judgments on that. Thank you.
We thank you. Any more public comment? Trish or Mrs. Becker? I'm sorry.
Trish is what she prefers, so come on, you should know.
My name is Trish Becker. I live at 51 Creek Road. Now, coincidentally, my husband happens to be on council, but I have to say that I am a resident here, and although people may want to lump Frank and me together to be of one body and one mind, we're individual people. And I don't feel that I lose my civil rights as a resident because my husband is on council. Okay, so I'd like to preface my comments with that. I'm very discouraged coming to this meeting tonight as a resident to see an article online about this referendum and the changing of the bond ordinance. I'm really disappointed in that. To see it in the paper, online tonight at around 10:05 before our council meeting tonight, and Mayor Kern being, quoted in that article substantially, and he's not here tonight. For me personally, it just doesn't pass the smell test. I think that it puts a lot of doubt in my mind. I can remember when the school board wanted to spend in excess of $1 million on a solar panel project. And the mayor on council here put through a motion or resolution, I don't know what you call all these things, and they voted that they were not in agreement with that. What is the difference between that and this? I don't know. Frank doesn't share things with me from any kind of executive session. I know what the public knows. And I just don't see the difference here. I really strongly believe that if this township, with the amount of debt we've incurred with this debacle of a municipal building, and with the income levels here and the amount of taxes that these people pay, which is very, very high, I don't think that we should spend this money having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people voting on this. This should go out for a referendum. I've heard you talk about timing and the amount of expense for that. That's a drop in the ocean, okay? And you can try to make the timing work. I just don't want 5 people to make this decision. This is a huge decision. It's a lot of money. And, I don't know what Frank thinks about it. I just know what I think about it. After tonight, if there's anything he can discuss with me, we will discuss it. But I am my own person. I'm a resident here, and I don't lose my right. And I wanted to tell you how I personally feel. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's enough.
Okay, thank you very much. Any more public comment? Hearing none, let's see.
I move we go into executive session
Let's have old business.
for the purpose
New
of.
business, and that's it.
We don't have any old business.
We may have some action to take, so possibly on the
Right.
TCI. So it will be an
Okay.
executive session for
I don't
contract.
know how long it's gonna take.
I don't think we have our architect here to deal with contract issues relating to the municipal building and TCI, maybe 15, 20 minutes. If we're lucky. And we have to discuss this other motion. We'll probably maybe 40, 45 minutes most.
I don't know.
So
Okay.
it's contract and potential litigation.
All right, I've moved it. Second.
I'll second it.
Becker?
Aye, yes.
Black?
Yes.
Van Ginelli?
Yes.
And Van Loo?
Yes. All right, for anyone who's interested, I, along with everybody on council, received from the Bridge Commission their fact sheet for their project.
Especially with all the approvals already. I mean, and if it does, man, I'd be dumbfounded. I mean, I don't know, you would think a half a dozen guys that would get together in a heartbeat and say, hey,
They're out there, believe me. Okay, we have everybody.
Council President Van Loo, do you want to call for a motion to adjourn executive?
Oh, okay. I was going to let Sal finish the meeting.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. But I'll call for a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
No, I need a first.
I mean, you're going to do it first. Just a second.
I'll
Motion.
second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Council President Van Loon, do you want me to put some of these
Well,
actions in order? here?
Okay, you've already done all the motions except for that one
Yes.
long one, am I correct? Okay, now let's go with,
Do you want
yes,
the building first?
let's do the building
All right.
first.
Okay, we had a discussion with our architect, and he's recommended some action. So the first item he's indicated is that we have 3 outstanding change orders for which the work has been done, but the township has not signed off on the change orders. His recommendation is to do so. So the first motion our architect has recommended we pursue is a motion to authorize the mayor to execute change orders 53, 54, and 55, and to pay the outstanding balance on change order 55 in the amount of $9,800.
All right, do I hear a motion?
Well, I'll make that motion.
Second?
Okay, Becker?
No, oh, I was waiting for somebody else second, but I'll
Oh,
second
so
it.
you were the second, Miriam, sorry.
Sal seconded it.
Sal is okay. Becker?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, the second item is our architect is recommending an air infiltration and thermal scan to be performed by the thermal group at a cost of $3,200. That would be to try to isolate where we're losing our heat from and where we're getting moisture in from. And that he's recommending be done.
One thing, I had a contractor in here, and he had a gun like this. Did we get the reply back from Pachoni, Wanda?
Yeah, from High Grade, yeah, we talked about that. And he was showing all the areas that are a lack of insulation or where it's poorly installed. And the architect talked about that already, because he was explaining it, and he recommends this air infiltration inspection to make sure that there's no other areas.
Okay.
Do it.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion, Sal.
Okay, do I hear a second? I'll second it.
Okay, Becker?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
Angeli?
Yes.
Van Loo?
Yes.
Now, and just, I don't think we need a motion on this because the work has already been authorized, but, I'm sorry, the check's already been authorized and sitting on our CFO's desk. But just to recapitulate, we're going to be finalizing the RK environmental report in terms of the mold issues. I'm going to be sending that to Jay, and Jay's going to be sending that to TCI because there's definitely cleanup that needs to be done down in the police headquarters. So we're going to be doing that. I don't need a motion on that, but we'll be doing that. I'm also going to try to set up a meeting with a no attorney meeting between our architect, Frank,
Mr. Becker
and
and
Sal.
Mr.
Yeah,
Vangelli.
Councilman Becker, Councilman Angeli, our architect, and representatives from TCI to take one last shot at resolving the other issues. In the meantime, I'll also be putting their bonding company on notice that we view the contract to be in breach, but which doesn't preclude us continue with TCI, but we're going to dual track that, okay? So that, I will be doing it with my attorney hat. I think that takes care of the building.
How about, did we say something about the paying them the $65,000?
Yeah, that's what I just got. I
That's
will
what
be
he
sending
just
that check
went
out.
through.
We're not going to require the revised.
No, I'm just wondering if I understand that, but I thought we might need a motion because the original motion had it.
Oh, no, we could do that. So it'll be a
Oh, it was a
motion,
different dollar amount?
same dollar amount.
It was just subject to cleaning up some other paperwork.
You're right, let's do
Okay.
that. Councilman Becker, probably. So it'll be a motion to authorize the
Check with a
Payment.
letter.
of the application for payment as authorized by our architect, period, without any requirement, any
All
condition.
right. So do I hear a motion?
I make a motion.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Becker?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
Angeli?
Yes.
Van Loo?
Yes.
The last thing is, the ballot question that was on the motion agenda. Do you guys want me to elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure.
Well, you want to explain why we're not voting
Well-
on it tonight?
Well, the issue basically, what the ordinance that we've adopted on first reading, 1403, as I indicated, would be an ordinance to amend our referendum requirement for open space acquisitions. The genesis of why that's being considered, and I think it's fair at this point that we, as a council, can discuss it in public because apparently it's in the newspapers and everything else at this point in time, so the cat is out of the proverbial bag. But the reason this has come up is because, as most of you know, for 20-some years that we've had the EAI project kind of hanging over the township's head pursuant to a Mount Laurel court-mandated judgment. That project started at over 1,000 units. It was called Riverwalk 20 years ago when I was actually young.
And I was on
And you
council.
were on council, but you're still young. And then it's gradually over the years been constricted in part through litigation with the township, in part through DEP regulations, in part through the Highlands legislation. It still consists of over 200 units, mostly commercial unit, mostly non-age restricted, non-affordable housing, single-family residential units, and 44-unit rental portion. So there's still a reasonably substantial development out there, although it is far smaller than it was in prior years. EAI, the developer, has lost a part of that tract to sheriff's sale, the part that was going to have a solar facility. The remaining part that would have the more intense development, if you will, the residential development, is scheduled for sheriff's sale, but has not yet happened. So a representative of the foreclosing bank, Provident Bank, I guess was at the last land use board meeting, brought this to the board's attention. So the board was actually considering some further revisions to approval. So they obviously stopped what they were doing. And then, during discussion here and discussion at the land use board, it kind of became, well, wait a minute, if the bank is acquiring this property, do we have a chance to acquire the property from the bank and thus kind of retake control, if you will, of how we want to plan for affordable housing and kind of eliminate the entire Mount Laurel judgment specter. So that's what the concept would be, is a nice one if we can do it. It would be expensive in a way because we would have to purchase the property and fee from the bank. We don't know how much that would be yet. The bank hasn't acquired at sheriff's sale the most important piece, and we don't know if they will. As we discussed in executive session, when the sheriff's sale happens, it's been scheduled for sometime this month. We're going to try to find out when. It may be adjourned. It may not be. We don't know. The bank may get it back, or an investor at the sheriff's sale may end up with it. But if we get the chance, if the bank gets it, we may want to explore possibly acquiring the property. We expect that would be certainly above that $400,000 referendum threshold. So that's where the amending the ordinance came from. The reason why we are concerned about the referendum process isn't because the cutoff, I think it's fair to say, it's not that we're worried about cutting off the date in public. It was just that we're worried that the referendum process itself may take too long, and the bank may not let us fool around that long to buy the property. But we don't know that. So what we've done tonight basically is I think, to keep some process moving, but to maintain maximum flexibility, I guess. The ordinance has been passed on first reading, but that's first reading only. So we'll have a public hearing at our next public meeting. We can have a rapid debate on that and either table it, pass it, or not pass it. If we don't pass it, the motion on the referendum question would then be up for discussion, because if we don't pass the amendment to the ordinance, then to acquire the property, we would probably then turn to pursuing some type of a referendum. So that's where we are tonight. That's why I guess we're going to move to table the referendum question, because really to do both tonight would be a contradiction in itself. But we want to, at this point, we want to make sure that the dialogue stays out here in public, again, because the issue is really in the public forum already, and that's where we will have it from this point going forward. So that's what we're trying to do, trying to essentially reacquire a piece of property that a lot of people have had a lot of problems with over the years, and we're just struggling with how we're going to do that if we get the opportunity to do it. I guess that.
Good summary.
I don't, it's up to you, Mary, if you want to open it up, then.
I really don't think at this time that your comment would be appropriate. At the next time, that's when it will be very appropriate.
I think we should probably just then just move to table the referendum question, if that's what we're going to do.
Okay, so if you table that, that means then to be brought out of being tabled, you need a 2/3. Is it 2/3 or 4/5 vote? When the motion's tabled?
Just don't make the motion.
Yeah, you don't need to
Okay.
make any motion.
All right, we'll
I
just
think
leave
you're
it.
right, Frank.
All right.
All
I
right.
think that's everything coming out of executive.
Okay, if nobody has anything else for the good of the cause, then do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.